Yeah, let's go to Dan in Fremont. Hey, Dan, what's going on? What are you doing? Dan, you there? Oh, Dan.
He's there.
Dan?
Tamara, hello.
Okay, there you are. What's up?
Yeah. Hey, yeah, so I just wanted to call in and say, look, I come here to just tell all 49ers fans to chillax, to chill out. I'm reading fans saying cancel the season, fire Shanahan, guys falling. Like, I don't understand it. In regards to the whole Trey Lance thing, like, let it play out. The season's looking good. I don't want to say Super Bowl or bust, but, it's cliche and all, but it's a strong roster. And I don't understand the chaos on Twitter. I know, you guys aren't really bringing that up, but they're ready to cancel the season because Trey Lance was put at QB3. And I don't understand it. Imagine if this had happened during Alex Smith's era. Who's QB3? Like, no. Everybody just needs to chill out, let the season play out. Everybody relax. It's going to be all right.
Yeah, Dan, while I agree with your concept, I'm also aware that certainly on the internet, it doesn't work like that. We have to admit that this is an incredibly rare circumstance. In fact, I don't even know if we could comp this. The idea of making an aggressive move like that, it's not just the number 3 overall pick. It's 3 years of first-round draft capital and more to pick this player and then end up a couple years later in a spot where, forget the fact that he can't be your QB2, he started only 4 games. Who does that? Nobody does that.
Well, you do that if you have him playing behind a Hall of Famer. That might happen.
I guess, but you wouldn't probably make a move like that if you had a Hall of Famer still playing at a high level.
Unless he was near the absolute end of his career.
Yeah, like the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers, but they didn't move up to number 3 overall in order to do so.
He was at the end of the first round.
24, 25, whatever it was. So, I don't know. We got to acknowledge, no matter where you sit on this topic, you got to acknowledge that this is crazy. This is crazy what happened.
This is crazy.
Right? So, for that reason, I understand all of the talk. The criticism is, while fair, you can criticize the pick. Where I stop understanding it is this phrase. Why are we letting Kyle Shanahan off the hook?
You let him off the hook.
I don't even know what that means. Where is the hook? In what way is he being let off it? Or in what way would you want him to still be on it? The hook, in theory, when you're a head coach, simply lives in the words of people who assess this stuff.
Well, the hook is, do you keep your job?
Well, right.
That's the hook.
Which therefore, that is not being discussed. That should not be discussed and is not being discussed by the 49ers.
23-11 in the last 2 regular seasons with Trey Lance as your QB 1, 2, 3, or however you want to put it.
And 4-2 in the playoffs.
Right.
So Ryan Clark, for example, the latest to say it on ESPN, why are we letting him off the hook? Well, dude, you have a platform on ESPN. So if you don't want him to let off the hook, don't let him off the hook. Show up every day and criticize Kyle Shanahan and create doubt about his job status. That's what you would do.
That's what the hook is to me.
Right. Like, I mean, but if anybody's going to do that in the midst of coming off 13-4 and being a top 5 Super Bowl odds team, I don't understand why you would do that. For me, you can criticize the pick in the process, but it has to stay there because everything else has gone well. They've done nothing but win since then.
Won. They've done nothing but win except in the playoffs at the end of the playoffs, and that's unfortunate. But as I mentioned earlier, only, I think, 34 or 35 coaches have ever won a Super Bowl. So if he wins a Super Bowl, he's in a very select elite company that, if you look around the National Football League right now in terms of coaches who are currently coaching who have won Super Bowls, I think you're dealing with 2 or 3 coaches.
Current?
Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, and
Belichick, Tomlin?
That would be 4, yeah. So you got 4 guys currently. I always forget about
Peterson?
Tomlin. Dougie P.
Oh, Dougie P.
Yeah, Dougie P in Jacksonville. So you got 5. So you'd be in a...
Actually, 28 coaches have won a Super Bowl. Look at that.
28 current. No, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
You had me there. But
kidding.
The whole idea about let him off the hook, it's fascinating because you would have to put him on the hook. So that hook for me is, as a head coach, it's your job. So the hook is you have your job or you don't have your job. And if Kyle Shanahan doesn't have Brock Purdy come in and do what he did, if Jimmy Garoppolo quarterbacked the way he did and then he got hurt and then you went to Brock Purdy and Brock Purdy was ordinary and you didn't do very well and then you lost your first game in the playoffs, then you could maybe put him on the hook and then we could talk about him being let off the hook.
Sean Payton. Sorry, I forgot.
No, it's good.
Another one.
It's more than I thought.
It is.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah, Harbaugh.
McVay.
6. Man. McVay, 7.
Every coach in the NFL other than Kyle Shanahan's won a Super Bowl.
You know what,
I
Mark?
didn't know that.
You're letting him off the hook. 7 of the 32.
The whole league has won a Super Bowl.
7 of the 32 have won a Super Bowl.
That was more than 7. We counted up more than 7 names. That got to at least 8.
Might have been 7 or 8.
Yeah, it was 8.
I think it kept going.
Yeah, it did.
That bit just kept going, yeah. So maybe Kyle does deserve to be on the hook.
Who won the Super Bowl for the Packers with Aaron Rodgers? Wasn't that McCarthy? There's another one.
Damn.
9, not 10.
Seriously.
Not 11.
I think that might
Not
be
12.
8, but I'll look.
It was at least 9, I promise. Anyway.
Damn. So maybe he should be on the hook.
I thought you had a great point.
That point died in a hurry. Jeez.
Well, I'll tell you what. You are listening to 95.7 The Game. KGMC FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Hey, Javier in Vacaville. You on with Willard and Dibs? Hi.
How you doing, Mr. Willard? How you doing, Mr. Dibs? I spoke with you early on the phone, Mr. Dibs.
Yes, Javier. I was screening calls and then you dropped off. I was disappointed.
Yeah, lunch break ended, so I had to call back later. But school's out now on the way to the game. So, I just want to make a premise, and Mr. Willard, he's a role model, my idol, but I'm going to be really disagree with this for the last 5 days. I'm probably going to disagree about this for the next 5 years. But right now, in the league 7 years, he has 800 passing yards, a 56% completion percentage, and is on his third, if not fourth team. And somehow, again, we think he's more ready to play quarterback for the 49ers because Trey Lance has played 3 games and a quarter, and you somehow divulge that he's not ready when Kyle Shanahan made him the unquestioned starter in 2022. And then all of a sudden, not a whole calendar year later, he's the third-string quarterback based on what? He didn't do any OTAs. He didn't have any practice during the regular season. And we're just ready to just let him go? You're saying it didn't work, Mr. Willard. How hasn't it worked? What hasn't worked?
All of it. And Javier, I'd love to go back and forth with you further. You sound like you're in the hallway at Levi Stadium, and it's really hard to understand what you're saying. For those of you who couldn't understand what he's saying, it is a take that we've heard from many before. How on earth can you say that Sam Darnold is more ready than Trey Lance, especially when Trey Lance was the starter a year ago? I can give you my answer to that. I think it's completely A to B and obvious. In fact, it's bullet pointed. First of all, Sam Darnold looked better than Trey Lance this preseason and in camp. And if you're listening to people on the internet who tell you otherwise, they are looking at this through Trey Lance glasses. Kyle Shanahan, for one, disagrees and stated so quite clearly. So instead of worrying about draft status or certain aspects of their game, always got a strong arm, or what you're rooting for or thinking will be true someday, today, Sam Darnold is better than Trey Lance. I find that to be wholly evident. Secondly, when people use that argument, but he was just the starter a year ago, so how can you say he's not ready? I will continue to hit this drum. He was the starter last year because they had no other choice. They spent all offseason saying that Jimmy Garoppolo was already gone. He was getting surgery. They were trying to trade him, and he wanted to be gone. He did not come back to the team until 12 days before the first game of the season, and did so, in my opinion, because the 49ers felt like Trey Lance was not looking good. Also documented as fact that the other players on the team and the coach felt like Brock Purdy was their best quarterback in camp last year, but did not have the cachet to name him the starter for obvious reasons. He had never played a football game before. Trey Lance was the starter last year because they had no other choice, and now they do. So that's my answer.
And it's fascinating to think about the what if Trey Lance didn't get hurt, how long that would have lasted. Would he have kept the job all year or not? I think they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo as more than just a convenience. They brought him back as a hedge in case Trey wasn't good enough. And when Trey got hurt, it made it much easier to just go to Jimmy Garoppolo anyway. So to think about this year and Kyle Shanahan in camp watching Sam Darnold, and they signed Sam right away at the start of free agency in March, about March 15th or 16th. They brought in Sam Darnold thinking that he was a hedge not only for Brock Purdy, but also for Trey Lance. And so they got to see these quarterbacks from March until now, and that's why the decision was made. It was made based on everything they saw between then and now. Now, I don't think that means Trey is automatically gone. And you and I differ in terms of what they should do with Trey Lance, because if they think that it was close, and on Tuesday, Kyle said, we're not going to announce who QB2 is until probably before the Pittsburgh game. And, well, they never did announce it.
They didn't announce it. They had to announce it.
Well, they told the players, and then it leaked out. So, But they never announced it. But I think that it was a lot closer than people want to say.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ever know that. I don't necessarily buy that due to the fact that they brought in Sam the way they brought him in. And you know this. I said it the day they did it. I'm like, well, they're bringing in Sam to be the backup. Why would Sam have said yes? I've asked that question. How many times have I asked that question in the last 6 months? Why would Sam have said yes to this quarterback room if he thought he was going to be QB3? Why would Sam Darnold do that? A lot of you people are dismissing Sam Darnold because you didn't like him in the framework of being a starter and the number 3 overall pick. That's not what the Niners are asking him to do. They're asking him to be their backup. And I would suggest to you, I think he's as good of a backup as there is in the whole league. Give me a better one. Who's better as a backup?
I heard this yesterday, actually.
Who's better?
I mean, I'd have to go through the list, but
do you even know who the other backups are? You know what I mean?
I know some of the backups,
Not you.
yes. But
I mean that in a grander
general sense, yes. And that's where this whole conversation about Trey Lance as QB3, to me, rings a little bit hollow. And hopefully by the time we get to next Monday, we're done with it, because you're going to be locking in on actual, real action. And I'm looking forward to what the conversation is going to be at the summit, the Red and Gold Summit next Tuesday at Fieldwork in San Ramon. Shasky and Bonte, Steiny and Goo, Willard and Dibs, possible special guest, 2 hours from 4 to 6, a lot of Niner topics. And I don't think that, we could do 2 hours on just Trey Lance. I know we won't, but the Trey Lance topic is going to be hot.
What do you mean we won't? You don't know that.
We're not doing 2 hours on Trey Lance.
Oh, there we are. Grandy's over here. By the way, you forgot one thing on field work, which is
what did I forget? We're giving away. I did that with no notes.
That's true. We're giving away this. If you're on YouTube right now, Twitch, we're giving away this Deebo Samuel signed, framed, matted Deebo Samuel jersey.
I said Deebo.
The white Niner jersey with red lettering, red numbers, his signature, and 2 images of Deebo superimposed onto the actual jersey. The thing is
gorgeous.
It's beautiful. It's a piece of art, Dibs.
Yeah, it is.
Okay? And you can win that, and you don't need to enter or whatever. You just need to come. Nothing.
Grandy hustling into showcase.
Job, Grandy. The whole thing is free.
You ripped him earlier.
I did. Why do you think he's acting like this? We whipped him into shape.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So just come on down to Fieldwork Brewing Company, San Ramon.
Please just tell me we're not doing 2 hours of Trey Lance.
We're not. We're doing 4. Don't forget, Willard and Dibs is 2 to 4 first. That's when you come get a good seat. And then from 4 to 6, then everybody shows up to the Trey Lance party. That is next Tuesday, August 29th, San Ramon, Fieldwork Brewing Company. The place is great. You're going to love it. We can't wait to see you, okay? 888-957-9570. Fabian is in Maryland. Hey, Fabian, what's going on? You're on Willard and Dibs.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
So my one thing that I'm trying to figure out is, and I think, Willard, this is more towards you, is I'm trying to figure out why do we need, and knowing everything we know and considering that Trey Lance is only getting paid like less than $1 million for the rest of the year, why rush him out of town for Brandon Allen? And I'm kind of hoping you'll convince me of that.
Well, it's not that, I think you're phrasing it in a way that I wouldn't.
Running him out of town?
No, for Brandon Allen. I'm not doing it for Brandon Allen. I'm not excited about Brandon Allen. I've tried to say this 15 different ways. I'm not excited about any QB3 ever seeing the field. I would like Brock Purdy to play 17 games. If he can't, I'd like Sam Darnold to play those games. And then after that, I use a cuss word because you're in a bad spot. That's normally where you are if QB3 comes into a game.
Is that a cuss word?
Watch the Miami Dolphins last year and see how they felt when people named Sky started coming into the game. It's not good. That's not what you want. So this is not for Brandon Allen. It's actually for Trey and for the sake of the 49ers organization and sanity. I don't see the good in having him on the 49er roster because I don't think that today he is really markedly better than Brandon Allen. I don't think Brandon is markedly better than him. I think if you get to QB3, you're probably in trouble no matter which one of them comes in.
I disagree with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You can disagree. But if those, in my mind, if those are pretty much a flatline, even Steven deal, let's look at what comes with Brandon Allen. Does he want to be elsewhere? No. He signed here on his own. Does he bring with him all kinds of chatter and screaming and yelling and questions from the media? No. There is a dynamic that has been created that is a distraction for the 49ers. They would rather not have it. And Trey Lance, I'm quite confident, based on him reacting the way he did to the news that he was not QB2, Trey Lance would rather be somewhere else. And if we all agree that he needs seasoning and he's not going to get it here, I'm having a hard time figuring out what is the reason for keeping him. I know what the discord is. Some of you think that if we get to QB3, Trey Lance is going to come in and save the world. I don't think he will.
Well, it happened last year.
You
got to QB3,
right,
and QB3 came in and saved the world.
He's a better player than Trey Lance.
To think that QB3 can't come in and save the world, to me, is short-sighted, and it's unfair to Trey Lance.
Now, why would you make that comparison?
Because QB3, you've said before.
But you're making it sound like all the QB3s are the same.
No, but QB3, and I've said this to you ever since we started the show together 2 years ago, I think it's more about the laminated play sheet than it is about QB1, QB2, QB3, or QB4. Now, last year you got to QB5, and he didn't exist, and you lost to Philadelphia.
If that was the case, why do they all look different? You can't tell me
they're different players.
Trey
for
Lance
sure.
and Brock Purdy do not look the same on the field.
No, they're different players.
Okay, so
but
why
last
it's
year
not just
QB3 came in and saved the day.
Yeah,
so,
but that's obviously someone who is actually really good.
And you're saying Trey Lance is not really good.
What do you see?
I see a player who needs some seasoning.
Right, but that's the point.
So I don't see a player that you absolutely have to get rid of just for the sake of some media and some Twitter scuttlebutt. Kyle Shanahan's already shown you that he doesn't give a crap about the fans, the chatter, the Twitter. If he cared, he would have come out and spoken to the media yesterday.
Oh, he cares.
Or he would have spoken today.
Oh, he cares.
And he would have addressed it. I don't think he cares to the level that you and all the rest of the fans want him to care.
No, I don't care how much he cares.
He wants the best quarterbacks in the room.
Right.
And if he thinks that Trey Lance is even 1% better than Brandon Allen,
you think he does?
He's keeping Trey Lance.
You think he does?
I do. And we're going to find out between now and Tuesday because I don't think there's a trade market for Trey Lance. And if there's not, he's not going to cut Trey Lance.
No,
he's going to keep him.
Of course, but that has nothing to do with what he thinks of his play. That has to do with finances.
It's partly in finances,
and it has to do with them being stuck. Yeah, if you're stuck, you're stuck. If there's no trade, there's no trade. But to say,
well, you could put him on the injured list, like their kicker is now on the injured list.
But you need roster spots for that on Tuesday.
You just need 8 roster spots on the IR.
You would probably lose Brandon Allen if you try to pull that.